Welcome to Huts of New Zealand. In this series I will travel to backcountry huts all around New Zealand to record, review and rate my experiences to give you a better idea of what to expect when you go hiking around our beautiful country. Today I'm hiking out to Cape Brett Hut, a service 23 bunk hut located in the stunning Bay of Islands in Northland, New Zealand. There's a few different ways to get to the start of the trek depending on if you're driving, taking a boat or travelling with a tour company, so I recommend using Google Maps to set a route to Rāwhiti if you don't know the way. There's room along Rāwhiti Road for parking, but if that's not comfortable for you, secure parking is available down the road at the Kaingahoa Marae for a small fee. Either way, make sure you lock your vehicle and don't leave any valuables behind. The trek to Cape Brett Hut is 16 kilometres long with 1,100 metres of climb and takes the average person about 8 hours to complete. It is a long, hard walk with a deceiving amount of climb, so a moderate to high level of backcountry skills and experience will be required in order to reach the hut safely. Marked by a traditional mouldy entranceway, the journey begins with a long set of stairs leading to an incredible viewpoint of the gorgeous Auke Bay, one of the best beaches in Northland. Turning right past a small trail marker, the track begins to climb, entering the regenerating native forest of coastal broadleaf and manuka, filled with birdlife and deafening cicadas during the summer. Upon reaching the cleaning station, make sure you scrub, inspect and spray your shoes to prevent the spread of Kauri dieback. The track mostly travels through Māori owned land, for which you'll need to pay a $40 maintenance fee for entry. With lots of ups and downs, it's wide, well formed and easy to follow all the way to the hut. After a challenging 345 metre climb, you'll reach Pukehuia, the highest point of the track, where there's a covered picnic table, a water tank and the very best views of the Bay of Islands. At about the 4 kilometre mark, you'll pass a track leading down to the historic Whangamumu whaling station, which is unfortunately closed due to Kauri dieback. Nearby, there's also a loo with a view and some water for washing your hands. The track then passes through an electric predator-proof fence, so make sure you close the gate behind you. Continuing along the top of the ridge, you'll get awesome ocean views of both sides of the peninsula, which help to make the constant climbing and descending a bit more bearable. On a hot summer's day, you might need sunscreen to protect your skin, but thankfully most of the trek is shaded under the trees. At the 8 kilometre halfway point, you'll reach a small locked hut used as a track maintenance and pest control base, which makes a great spot for a rest. Make sure you take plenty of breaks and pack lots of food and water to stay hydrated and energised along the way. Around 11 kilometres in, you'll cross a small stream before reaching the track junction leading down to Deepwater Cove. The track once again becomes steep as it enters the dockland at Manuahuna Reserve until emerging high above the ocean with dramatic views of the rocky coastline and steep cliff faces. Apart from a single oddly placed pine tree, the vegetation around here is smaller and more stunted as it is more exposed to the harsh ocean conditions. Over the final few kilometres, the track passes over an exposed saddle, around a small slip, and up the final climb guided by a handrail, before dropping down to the spectacular Cape Brett lighthouse, where you'll catch your first glimpse of the hut below. And after one last descent zigzagging down the grassy hillside, you'll finally arrive at the awesome Cape Brett Hut. Cape Brett Hut was originally built in 1909 along with 2 other houses which accommodated the lighthouse keepers and their families. From 1910, when the lighthouse was first lit, Cape Brett would be home to hundreds of people who worked and lived here up until it was decommissioned in 1978. There was a schoolhouse, a workshop, a crane and various other buildings and structures used in the day-to-day life of the people who lived here, but due to terrible weather and a lack of maintenance, most of it fell into disrepair and had to be deconstructed. The Department of Conservation took over Cape Brett in 1987 and in 1996 they completely renovated the last remaining keeper's house, converting it into a hut for trampers to use. The house was gutted and the floor plan was modified, allowing for a larger kitchen area, more room for beds and new toilets to be constructed out the back. By 2007, the old lighthouse had deteriorated into a really bad state, but after it was acquired by DOC, a crew was hired to restore it back to its former glory. I've only just scratched the surface of the expansive history of Cape Brett, so if you'd like to find out more information, I've linked a few historical reports in the description below, including one which is available as a physical copy at the hut. Today, Cape Brett Hut is a fully equipped and serviced dock hut, with 23 bunks split between 2 large rooms and 1 smaller room down the central hallway. All rooms have hooks, candle holders, smoke alarms and large windows that open. The smaller room also has a separate bench top with a sink and a tap. The large kitchen and living area is located at the northern end of the hut, linking the central hallway to the main entrance. Here you'll find 2 large tables with chairs, stainless steel bench tops along the walls, 3 gas cookers, 2 sinks with taps, more candle holders, and some shelves with pots and pans. There's also 2 fire extinguishers and various books and posters detailing the history of Cape Brett, though some were pretty faded by the sun. There's 2 doors to get in and out, and both are locked with a pin pad, which you'll get the code for after booking. The front foyer has a place to store your shoes, and the back door leads up some steps to 2 long drop toilets, which you'll need to remember toilet paper for. Around the hut there's a couple more sinks and taps, some picnic tables, and 2 large roof-filled water tanks. Make sure you filter or boil the water before use, because it can sometimes be salty. Also, be aware that the tanks can run out during a drought, so bring extra water with you in summer, just in case. The surrounding area is littered with remnants from the Cape's history, with old concrete pads, a steep rusted tramway, and a battered old crane structure down by the water. I stayed at the hut on New Year's Eve at the end of 2021, and with beautiful warm weather, it was the perfect way to finish off the year. I spent the evening swimming in the calm deep water below the hut, before basking in the warmth of the final sunlight and sipping on some wine with some of the other hutgoers. And after darkness set in, I made my dinner, played some cards, and chatted with some of the others. One of the best parts about tramping in New Zealand has got to be meeting all sorts of awesome like-minded people along the way. And as the others started to go to bed, I stayed up gazing at the stars until midnight, when I could just make out fireworks lighting up the sky around the distant coastline. Then, being quiet and considerate of others, I climbed into my sleeping bag and finally went to sleep for the night. After a meagre 4 hours of sleep, I was up early to watch the first sunrise of 2022, and it was gorgeous. I made myself a coffee and enjoyed it out at the picnic tables while watching the seagulls swabble. There are hundreds of seagulls that nest on the rocks below the hut, and they can make a lot of noise. And after signing into the hut logbook, I packed up all my gear and wiped down the benches. Make sure you clean up after yourself and leave the hut in a nice tidy condition for the next visitors to enjoy. Also, don't leave any rubbish behind. If you pack it in, make sure you pack it out. And with my bag packed and my shoes on, I said some goodbyes and headed back up the hill, past the lighthouse and out along the track. It was an absolutely stunning day, but I was feeling the effects of my bottle of wine and the lack of sleep, and didn't really fancy walking the whole length of the track again. Thankfully, after walking 5 kilometers back down to Deepwater Cove, I was able to catch a ferry for $50, which took me back down the coast and right to the start of the track where I'd parked my car. Incorporating a ferry ride into your stay at the hut is the best way to make the most of Cape Brett, and I highly recommend it. There are a number of different options for where you'd like the water taxi to take you, so the best thing to do is to check out the website for more information and to make a booking. And since there is cell phone reception at the hut, you can ring the provided phone numbers to make a ferry booking after you arrive. The hut also overlooks the island where the famous Hole in the Rock is located, which can also be explored with a ferry tour when the sea is calm. The surrounding waters are home to some awesome sea life, and if you're lucky, you might be able to spot whales and dolphins from the hut. When the weather is perfect, the scenery around Cape Brett Hut is absolutely stunning, with breathtaking cliff faces and really vivid colours. But it's not like this all the time. Like any coastal area of New Zealand, Cape Brett can be battered by bad storms and monster waves, so if you're planning a trip, make sure the weather conditions are favourable. And if you're exploring the top of the cliffs or the rocks near the water, be extra careful and don't take any risks. Overall, Cape Brett Hut is a sensational place to visit, whether by foot or by boat. With a rich history and stunning backdrop, the hut is equipped with all the amenities it needs to welcome trampers and adventurers. Its location in the winterless north means it doesn't need a fireplace, and its large interior means there's plenty of room for people and gear. And even though the toilets were pretty smelly and the exterior had some orange rust marks, Doc has done a great job at providing and maintaining the hut for everyone to enjoy. So of course, I'd give Cape Brett Hut 5 stars. Whether you decide to tackle the difficult track or take a ferry instead, it is one of the most rewarding and spectacular outdoor destinations at this end of the country. Bookings are required all year round, and you'll receive an email with the code to the pin pad a few days before your stay. You'll also need to pay the track fee at the time of booking. Check out the dock website in the description below for more information on prices and availability. And if you're heading out there anytime soon, I hope you have an incredible time. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you'd like to see more of the huts of New Zealand.
Just keep getting further and further away from the mainland. It's funny how peninsulas work.